Slammiversary 2025 is upon us, and it's looking like it could be the biggest TNA show ever. And I say that for a number of reasons. First of all, the pre-sale looks amazing. And secondly, AJ Styles is returning to TNA. It is official. There's no more speculation. It has been confirmed. The TNA lockbox has been opened, and out of it came the phenomenal AJ Styles. We have been waiting for this moment for years. In fact, AJ Styles spent 11 and a half years in TNA, and now 11 and a half years later, he returns. This is an opportunity to right all the wrongs of his previous farewell. Of course, he was lowballed in 2014, ended up going to New Japan and Ring of Honor and eventually WWE, and he's had success everywhere he's gone. Of course, that farewell, him putting over Magnus in 2014, that wasn't exactly the storybook ending that we wanted for AJ Styles in TNA. I mean, this is Mr. TNA. He is the guy, just an absolute Hall of Famer. If you had to pick one TNA star of the past, it's him. So AJ will finally make his return in front of thousands. The crowd pop is going to be absolutely insane. It may break decibel records. But that's great. That's a slam dunk. We know that that is going to be a magical moment. It's rare that you know ahead of time how special a moment in wrestling will be. And I think that's why they had to announce it, for ticket sales and just overall interest in the pay-per-view. Now everyone has to tune in to see AJ Styles come home. Past that, where does AJ Styles go from here in TNA? That's the big question. I think a Hall of Fame induction would be inevitable. I think, that's usually announced at Slammiversary anyway. Why not lump AJ Styles into that, give him his big moment at Bound for Glory, and you can include a match on top of that. Maybe we even get a few matches. I don't really know. I think the obvious one for me would be Frankie Kazarian. You've got a guy that came into the business with AJ Styles, came into TNA with AJ Styles, helped build the company. He's the obvious choice, excluding Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, guys like that aren't available to TNA at this given moment. So he has so much history with Frankie Kazarian, who's at the top of his career right now. So you don't even have to worry about, an age thing. Obviously, both of them have a ton of experience, but I completely have faith in those two delivering at the highest of levels. So maybe towards October, we get that Frankie Kazarian, AJ Styles farewell match at Bound for Glory. Another thought that has run through my mind, and I would not prefer this, I want to make that very clear, but it's quite possible that Slammiversary could see Trick Williams walking out as champion and AJ Styles being the one to stand up for TNA and try to bring that title back home, even though they're both WWE employed talents. I could see that being a story. I wouldn't love it because it just feels like it has a little bit too much WWE fingerprints on it. I want this to be a TNA booked farewell. I want this to be as if he was in TNA, as if he is TNA employed and we are writing his send-off. Think of Sting and his send-off with AEW. Think of, not really Goldberg, because they didn't promote that right. But, there is a draw in last matches. Ric Flair's last match. It's done quite well. Nostalgia is alive and well in 2025. And I think we're going to get a lot of that in this run. And it's going to be interesting to see how they execute it. Do they do a past rival, a familiar face like Frankie Kazarian? Or do they try to still put their WWE twist on it, get Trick Williams over in the process? I really hope that's not the way this goes. I think there's a lot of different ways you can go that would make it feel more like AJ Styles is fighting for his TNA legacy more than anything, because that's what this should be about. But that does lead me to the TNA World Championship match, which will be the main event of the night. Trick Williams, the champion, he won the title from Joe Hendry at NXT Battleground, who will be getting a rematch in this Slammiversary 3-way, along with Mike Santana. It was the first time a TNA belt changed hands on a WWE show. There is a WWE talent with the TNA World title. It's pretty surreal. You know, I mean, we've gotten a lot of surprises this year, but even that, I mean, this partnership continues to surprise me. The amount that WWE is willing to spotlight TNA. There's been a lot of talk about this on big media publications like Ariel Helwani's show. You know, he asked the Hardies, what is WWE's motivation? Is it just to get back at AEW? They said, yeah, probably. Mike Santana dodged the question a little more. You know, he's not really acknowledging that statement, but it's obvious that WWE has some kind of game plan, and it has been beneficial to both of them. And we'll see that continue at Slammiversary. We've seen Trick Williams disrespect TNA's legacy. It's Trick NA, which is just stupid. But he's been defending the title on NXT, not in the strongest of fashions either. He was jumped by Joe Hendry, confronted by Mike Santana. Of course, they had their street fight on NXT, which AJ Francis got involved with. So there's been a lot of build up to this. It's been pretty telegraphed that this would be the main event in some capacity, whether it be one-on-one or some three-way multi-man match, and that's what we're getting. And Trick Williams hasn't been my favorite world title run. I understand it. It's been incredible from a visibility standpoint. You know, they even got the contract signing for Slammiversary on NXT, on WWE television. They were essentially treating NXT as the go-home show for Slammiversary. Pretty incredible. But, you know, even with that visibility that Trick Williams has gotten on the product and this NXT partnership as a whole, this is Mike Santana's time. There is no denying that Mike Santana should walk out of Slammiversary with the TNA World title. He's in his home region. He's riding so much momentum, whether it's in the media or just on screen weekly. You know, he feels like the Hangman Page of TNA, if you will. It's a natural babyface, and that natural babyface should be crowned in front of the biggest crowd of the year. We just saw it at All In. It went over so well. So I think realistically, he pins Joe Hendry, so Trick can, you know, keep chasing. You can keep doing stuff on NXT to get that visibility that Trick Williams offers. But Mike Santana should have the belt. You know, I'm a little worried that they'll stretch the chase a little bit because, you know, we were just talking about Bound for Glory. If AJ Styles is going to be with Frankie Kazarian, they may want to stretch this Mike Santana Trick Williams program. But I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be a better scenario than what they're walking into on Sunday. Slammiversary is going to have over 6,000 people at least cheering for Mike Santana. Even if you do a singles match months later, it will not have the same feeling that you are going to have in UBS Arena Sunday night. Mike Santana has to win this. If you saw the video that TNA produced, it is a beautiful video with commentary from Mike Santana's father, who he's been very vocal about being instrumental in his growth as a human, as a wrestler. You know, he was his biggest fan. He said he'd be just absolutely tripping at the sight of his son headlining UBS Arena on Long Island. Not in Long Island, on Long Island. Thank you, John Alba. This is the moment. This is the moment. The build, the opportunity for Mike Santana and TNA to make an impression in front of the biggest crowd of the year. This is it. They can create another magical moment right here with Mike Santana winning in front of his people. Just an emotional moment. We saw him cry on Ariel Helwani's show. We know how much this means to him, and it's going to mean a lot to the fans watching. You have to make the right move here, TNA. Give Mike Santana the belt. Don't overthink it. Moving on to another similar scenario, really, the X Division Championship situation. Moose has been on quite the long run, quite the dominant run. At Slammiversary, he's got Leon Slater. Leon Slater pinned Moose in an 8-man tag at Against All Odds, earning this title shot. He has had so much momentum. We saw him almost gain victory in Ultimate X earlier in the year. He lost very controversially, basically fumbling the title. Moose retrieved it, retaining. He made his moment with the Swanton 450 from the Ultimate X scaffold. I mean, he's lighting it up this year. You know, it's been a meteoric rise for the young Leon Slater, who I believe is now 20 years old. Not a legal drinker in our country, but he could be the youngest X Division champion on Slammiversary. The build has been focused around his growth, his rising profile alongside the Hardies. I mean, what better endorsement could you get than from Jeff Hardy, who said Leon Slater's his favorite wrestler? Look at that. Once again, just like Mike Santana, this needs to be Leon Slater's moment. You know, it's been another organic and exciting rise. And how often do you get that in wrestling? Arguably even more compelling than the world title picture. This has been a great build. I've wanted to see Leon Slater become champion, months and months ago. So I think this will feel so good. Moose has had a long reign, but Slater he feels like the guy. I mean, the potential he has is limitless. And this will be that major win and a great move for the X Division that we've been looking forward to. I think the match will be awesome. Moose is going to bust his ass. Leon Slater the same. It's going to be amazing. I'm really excited for these two top title matches, and we'll see how it plays out, but I think the babyfaces going over is the right move. Just get those feel-good moments. Moving on to Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander. This has been TNA's best feud of the year. There's been twists, there's been emotion, there's been character development. It's really everything you would want out of a wrestling storyline. Even some soap opera drama. I mean, it's got it all. There was a loss to Mike Santana that Ali suffered. He didn't take it the best. He became abusive towards Order 4, Tasha Steelz included, who would call in Cedric Alexander as backup. Well, Ali rejected that help, challenged Cedric Alexander to a match at Slammiversary. Turns out it was all a ruse set up by Tasha Steelz to get Mustafa Ali back on track, get him a big match at Slammiversary. It's been a wild ride. This has elevated everyone involved, though. You've got Ali and Cedric as kind of holding the star power in the feud. You have Tasha Steelz, Jason Hotch, and John Skyler, who are all very talented, but, haven't been featured on television prior to this. Before they were in Order 4, they were all pretty directionless, and this has just absolutely been a turning point for all of their careers. We're now seeing Tasha take over the group, essentially, saying Ali needs her, or he needs the opportunities that she grants him, and Ali has never beaten Cedric, and this is the time to change that, especially with the help from Tasha to cement her power shift as she seems to get a bigger role in Order 4. And John Skyler and Jason Hotch, their roles kind of remain unclear. It's a little foggy, and that just adds to the intrigue of Sunday night. I think Mustafa Ali finally gets that win over Cedric Alexander in this WrestleMania rematch, and it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. I could see Tasha Steelz getting a push inherited from this partnership. It should be amazing. It's going to be emotional, and we already know what those two are capable of from an athletic standpoint on the greatest stage of them all, WrestleMania, which had John Cena giving a standing ovation. So they've delivered in the past. I don't see why this would be any different. Should be really, really fun match, and I'm excited to see where they go with that. For the Knockouts tag titles, we have the Elegance brand, Ash and Heather by Elegance, of course with M by Elegance on ringside, Maggie Lee. They will be going against the IInspiration, who returned after 3 years. They called their shot in this very shallow Knockouts tag division. Didn't take long to get a title shot. I will say they're quite legitimate. They call themselves the women's tag team, and it's hard to argue with that. It's hard to argue with their history as a team at the highest level. They are now back in TNA. Ash by Elegance had won a controversial battle royal to secure this title match. She was hiding on the outside. I even forgot that she was in the match, and she chose her opportunity to strike, and tensions have escalated between the Elegance brand and the IInspiration. We saw them get into a scuffle at the meet and greet, which was fun. This division hasn't always clicked, let's just be honest. The IInspiration's return should feel a little bit bigger. I feel like I'm forgetting about it, and there's only 2 teams in this division, so it really shouldn't be hard to keep track of, but this division just can never seem to get momentum. The IInspiration's obviously tailor-made for these belts, but TNA's clearly high on the Elegance brand, as am I. I think they're pretty entertaining. Maybe we get a cheap win here from the Elegance girls to stretch the feud. I mean, there's only 2 active teams on the roster, I feel. So where do we go from here, if not continuing this feud. I just don't see where the future lies for this division. Hopefully it gets spiced up on Sunday. I'm going to go with the Elegance brand to retain. I think it's too early for the IInspiration to capture the belts again. Staying in the Knockouts division, it's title versus title. TNA Knockouts World Champion Masha Slamovich versus NXT Women's Champion Jacy Jayne. Winner gets both belts. This is pretty crazy shit. NXT's Fatal Influence, they invaded TNA once again. Jacy Jayne has kept a close eye on Masha Slamovich. Masha followed her to NXT. It's been that cross-promotional push that we've seen from TNA and NXT, but it has now escalated to Santino Marella and Ariana Grace booking a title versus title match at Slammiversary. This is huge. This is absolutely wild. I really like Jacy Jayne. I think she's a solid representative for NXT. Obviously not the strongest women's champion they've had in recent memory, but I mean, this is a huge match. The stakes are insane. If Masha wins, she becomes the first TNA star to hold active WWE gold. I cannot stress how insane that is. And that would just further boost this WWE TNA partnership, which has just been shockingly generous. Masha hasn't had a ton of heated programs also, so I think this is the best match she's had on paper since her title win. They're finally giving a major spotlight to her, and Jacy Jayne for that matter. So I really like this. I hope it is more heated than her previous encounters on pay-per-view. And honestly, I think Masha Slamovich is going to make history, and she is going to hold WWE gold. You know, we've seen her on NXT programming just recently. It's clear that they have interest in featuring her. I don't see why they wouldn't give her the championship, especially seeing the run that Trick Williams is on and how giving WWE has been with TNA in the first place. I don't see why a title reign would be excluded from that. It's still a little bit hard to believe, so I'll believe it when I see it, but Masha Slamovich will likely be a WWE champion following Sunday. Now, how this progresses the Knockouts storylines, well, we do have a grudge match between Tessa Blanchard and Indi Hartwell, which has been built through limited interactions. Definitely some tension there. You know, it's been Indi's biggest stage since returning. Bit of a slow build with her. I think they're taking it slow, trying to naturally build her up. This will be definitely a test. Tessa Blanchard, say what you will about her, is phenomenal in the ring. It could be a sleeper match. I think Indi will get the win here. There's a lot more potential in the future of Indi Hartwell for the Knockouts division. It's going to be a statement match that probably puts her in title contention. Tessa may pivot to a tag run after this. I just don't see where Tessa goes, you know. She'll be taking another loss at a big pay-per-view. I do think she'll do a great job in putting over Indi Hartwell. She'll probably bring the best out of her, and that's exactly what TNA needs right now, because I think Indi Hartwell can be a big player. She just needs to prove herself. You know, she's been on television, yes, but not necessarily presented as a title challenger or eventual champion, and we'll see if she can reach that level. It all starts against Tessa Blanchard on Sunday, which should be a really good match. I really think so. We also have a 4-way ladder match for the TNA tag titles. It should be chaotic because, well, the Hardies are in it. And this is really just an excuse to get them on the card and put them with a ladder, which they do quite well with. The Rascalz will be there. AJ Francis and Casey Navarro of First Class will be there. And the Nemeth brothers. It'll be a 4-way tag. It's going to be fun. There's athleticism. There's obviously name value. Trey Miguel revealed to the world that he will be getting surgery after this. That kind of spoils the outcome, at least on the Rascalz side. But it's kind of a toss-up match, minus that scoop. Maybe the Hardies win for the moment. First Class getting a push could be interesting. The Nemeths are, of course, there. The Hardies did hint at some freshening up if they are not to be victorious on Sunday. They said they don't know what's in the future if they can't get the job done. They said it may be the end of the Hardy party here in TNA. I don't know if they're wrapping up with the company. I don't know if this is some excuse to bring Willow back or the Broken Hardys, something like that. Maybe some reinvention is on the horizon for the Hardies, but this will be fun as hell. It's a big pay-per-view ladder match with the Hardies. Can't go wrong. Not really sure who gets the dub. I'm going to go with First Class for the upset. Why not? Some last-second additions, though. Mance Warner, Steve Macklin, and Jake Something will be teaming up to take on Fourth Rope. It's going to be Enzo Amore, Josh Bishop, and Zilla Fatu making their TNA debuts. This is pretty crazy for a match just buried on the pre-show. It'll be interesting to see the impression that all three of those guys make and where this partnership goes. I think it's great for the international title situation. You know, they talked a lot about making this a belt that is defended all around the world, regardless of promotion. What a great way to cross-promote with Fourth Rope and their interesting stars. You know, I'll take this over an NXT partnership. We got Zilla Fatu coming over, Enzo Amore, Josh Bishop, who has a ton of potential as well. This will be a fun pre-show match. I'm really excited for it, to be honest. But that is the lineup for Slammiversary. Honestly, a really stacked card, especially those top 4 or 5 matches. I'm really excited for the atmosphere. And who could forget, AJ Styles is making an appearance. That is not a rumor. That is confirmed. What will the Phenomenal One be doing in his TNA return? Will Mike Santana, will Leon Slater have their crowning moments at Slammiversary? It all goes down on Sunday. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more.